Hi-Gi here, just back from my annual checkup where the doctors repeatedly probed me and discovered I had a kidney stone the size of a Super Bowl ring.
I found out that Takeshi, who is actually this gentleman here, Takeshi Kitano, is a comedian, a beloved Japanese comedian, known for a lot of Yakuza movies, the most famous of them being Sonatine, a movie I just discovered the other day. It's such a dope, not just gangster movie, it's such an art house movie. He went to watch the premiere in a Japanese theater. Everybody knew and loved him so much as a comedian that as soon as his character would appear on screen throughout the entire film, anytime his character would pop up on screen, the audience would laugh. Hilarious to see how he found ways to sneak in comedy into this gangster movie. At one point, this one guy gets stabbed, but it's so like deadpan. But it's serious, like the situation's serious. Yeah, yo, I've been getting into a lot of foreign film watching again. I've been really bored with what's taking place in North America in almost every aspect of entertainment, sports, all of it just bores me. It's the same old, same old. So, you know, I have a real love for foreign films. I love Korean films, Korean action films for some reason I fucking love. But lately, I've been getting into Japanese films, and, you know, I'm trying to stay away from the Kurosawa stuff because that's mainly what I know, the black and white, like samurai stuff. So I've been getting into Yakuza! I watched a very good show on HBO called Tokyo Vice. It's only 2 seasons, but very well done. Focuses on what they say is a true story, and I looked into it. It is based on a true story. Essentially, a white American reporter ends up moving to Japan, working for the paper out there, and then like infiltrates the Yakuza and just gets in close with a bunch of them and shit. It's fucking wild. The show is really good. Ken Kudaragi's in it. Stellar Japanese actor. But I have been trying to learn more about the Yakuza films. I have a real interest in that shit. And a crazy Andy Kaufman-esque like connection was made in my mind. And when I like, it'll make sense in a bit, but I've talked about Andy Kaufman a bunch on this podcast. Huge influence of mine. Not just a comedian, but someone who's had influence on like so many aspects of my life growing up that I didn't realize until later, until I started learning more about him as a comedian. But understanding that he had a big impact on what the current state of like heels in wrestling, and a heel in wrestling is like the bad guy. But a comedian, Andy Kaufman, is largely responsible for what the modern day bad guys are modeled after. And I didn't learn, and I'm still a huge wrestling fan. Thankfully, wrestling's gotten good again. I won't talk about it anymore because I'll lose subscribers. But yeah, Andy Kaufman was doing wildly hilarious stuff in the field of comedy, and then just brought it into the world of wrestling. And so just kind of bled, like Andy Kaufman, I just kept finding in all these different aspects of my life. And come find out, I used to watch this show called MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. And I always knew, like, if you know the show MXC by how I just said it, then chances are you're in North America and you watched the show on like Spike TV in the 2000s. That's what it was on. But if you noticed, obviously, that it was a Japanese game show with English voiceovers. I even knew back then that the Japanese game show was called Takeshi's Castle. In Europe, they kept the same name, Takeshi's Castle. So they aired the show with their own English voiceovers, because it was like British guys doing voiceovers there, and America got American guys. And then obviously Canada being America Junior, we just picked up what they were putting out. And this was one of my favorite shows growing up. I fucking loved MXC so much. All the characters, Kenny Blankenship, Guy Ledouche, these are all the American subtitled dubbed versions of the original characters. But Takeshi's Castle, what I didn't know, Takeshi was the guy. You're watching the Japanese show, and it's obviously English voiceovers, but you're watching the show like from Japan. So you're seeing all Japanese people compete, and you're seeing like the setup. So they even took like the characters that the Japanese game show had, and I don't even know their names other than Takeshi, who was the main guy. It was his castle, and they were all trying to get to the top of his castle, essentially. I found out that Takeshi, who is actually this gentleman here, Takeshi Kitano, is a comedian, a beloved Japanese comedian. He was so beloved, and this is Japan, mind you. So what I'm about to say culturally is fucking insane. He was the type of comedian which, if I was Japanese, I would 100% would be a Kitano fan. I'm a Kitano fan and I'm not Japanese, but I would love to actually see his stand-up if I could understand it. He was in the crowds, and I went like on an internet journey. I went down the wormhole. You know what I mean? I learned a lot about this guy in the last few days. He would go up on stage and he would be so crude and crass and just start like saying, like, go fuck yourselves or I'll fuck you to like granny age women in the crowd and stuff. And this is Japan. Super meek, super humble, super polite society. They loved this guy. He'd be like, fuck you, grandma. And they'd be like, oh, that was racist, but you know. They loved him. Very Andy Kaufman-esque. Very Andy Kaufman. I would imagine that this guy actually predates Andy Kaufman. He's older than Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman passed away, obviously, but so Kitano was a comedian. He was also an actor, writer, director, and is Japan's, or one of, if not the most prolific director, comedian in Japan. Known for a lot of Yakuza movies. The most famous of them being Sonatine, a movie I just discovered the other day. I'll play the trailer while I talk over it. This movie was fucking amazing. I honestly have to go back and watch it. I'm gonna pause the trailer for a second. If you can enjoy foreign films, check this shit out. If you don't mind reading subtitles, check this shit out. If you have not done that in your life, if you mainly watch the shit that is in your language, try and get out of your comfort zone. Don't even necessarily just start with this, because the Yakuza films might not be your thing. But look elsewhere, bro. The world is full of beautiful art. And shit, man. Especially in times like this where we're just regurgitating, here's fucking Shrek 4, Toy Story 5, and all this fucking bullshit, Matrix 4. Get out and go look at some older shit from elsewhere, you know? Because there's a lot of that. So the movie Sonatine is so beloved. I think Kitano is Quentin Tarantino's biggest inspiration. And there's another movie, a Japanese movie called Battle Royale, which if you've seen, you only need to watch the trailer to see how much that influenced so much of American pop culture and shit. The movie Battle Royale is based off of a manga, which is just Japanese comics. And again, I haven't read any of these or anything. This just went through my wormhole the other day, my journey. But essentially the government, and I started watching this movie, but I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to the whole thing. But the government is kidnapping ninth graders, putting them on an island and making them fight to the death for their life. Does that sound like Hunger Games? Huh? There's another thing that is super... Oh, fuck. Kill Bill. If you just watch the trailer for Battle Royale, you will immediately see like a million references that Kill Bill took from It. I can't say that It referenced Kill Bill because Quentin Tarantino literally said that that's his main inspiration for everything. Like this guy Sonatine is his favorite director, all this shit. Which, you know, whatever you think of Quentin Tarantino, his feet loving ass, and all his N-words in all his movies, and putting himself in his own movies to say the N-word. Weird flex. But can't lie, love a lot of his movies. This movie Sonatine, I'll go back to playing the trailer while I talk over it, is such a fucking dope, not just gangster movie, it's such an art house movie. Like, it's such an artistic movie. Dude, this guy's Takeshi, once again, the comedian, he's a painter too. Like, he directed and starred in this movie. It is fucking amazing. The tone shift, like it, bro, it's not even a gangster movie the way you think of gangster movies. Because again, if you grew up only watching Western gangster movies, then you think pure action, fucking high pace, blood, gore, which there actually is a lot of blood and action, but the action isn't glorified like American movies glorify action. I swear to God, bro, there's a scene where like a nigga's just bleeding out in the back of a car and everybody's just sitting there like this. Yeah, yo, so we're going to drop this guy off at the hospital and I'm actually thinking of retiring and stuff. But like, it makes sense for the movie. There's a reason why. And a lot of his stuff, Kitano, I'll say his full name once again. It's Takeshi Kitano. He's also known as Beat Takeshi in Japan. That's like a nickname or a moniker. Dude, this guy was so beloved as a comedian. And this is very Jim Carrey-esque, which again ties into the friggin' Andy Kaufman. But here's this book, the Jim Carrey's book, which I really have to read. Memoirs and Misinformation. Jim Carrey's book is so interesting to me. I started reading it. I made it like a couple chapters in, but I never finished it. Surprise, surprise. But essentially, it's half real, half his actual memoir, and half made up. And I'm pretty sure an influence of this book is Norm Macdonald's book, because Norm Macdonald also wrote a book which was all fake, like a completely fake memoir. But this is apparently half real, half fake. But it reflects something that Jim Carrey went through in his career, something I think most comedians... Here's the thing. Most good comedians are good comedians because they're better people. They're introspective. They're reflective. They're meditative. And I'm not saying these things because that's what I said I am earlier. But the reason that I got better as a comedian is because I started focusing on myself as a person. Straight up. No secret sauce to that shit. Work on your fucking traumas, as lame as that shit sounds. Fix yourself. Be a better person of yourself so you can get to the place where you're very honest with yourself without being overly critical. Because if you can get to that place, then you're really fucking invincible. You're not reliant on the world to give you feedback on who and what you are and how you should be and what you should be doing. It's fucked. When you have a solid base, you can do anything from a solid foundation. Anyways, back to Takeshi Kitano. He was so beloved as a comedian. And the first serious movie he did, where he played a serious role, he went to watch the premiere in a Japanese theater, and everybody knew and loved him so much as a comedian that as soon as his character would appear on screen throughout the entire film, anytime his character would pop up on screen, the audience would laugh instinctively. And it made him feel such a way that he didn't do comedy for years. He just stopped until people finally said, Takeshi's a serious guy. Because again, this nigga essentially birthed modern game shows. Takeshi's Castle went on to be the formula for every zany game show throughout the world. If you're in North America, you know it as Wipeout on ABC or whatever the fuck channel you get it on. It's all throughout. I think Australia has their own Wipeout. Europe has their own Wipeout. They just took Takeshi's Castle or MXC and they just rebranded it Wipeout because surprise, surprise, no original ideas. To be honest though, that shit is so funny. Like, let's actually, like, I'm going to play some of this in the background. I'm not going to put the audio on. Or maybe I should, bro. Fuck it. Because this is so funny to me. This is the actual Japanese version too, so I have no idea what the fuck's going on here. I love the Japanese language. Look at these niggas just have to climb a wall. It's all muddied up and shit, and some of them are actually athletic. So like there was a series of obstacles throughout the episode that you would have to go through. And then there was a bunch of characters that would come in between to narrate what was going on or set up the obstacles. I think, so again, this is the Japanese version, so I don't know what the fuck they're saying. But this guy right here, in the safari outfit, he ended up getting named in English as Guy Ledouche.
Hello, Guy Ledouche here, and I'm the #1 correspondent. I just shit my pants. Okay, back to you.
Like, super 90s, 2000s cheesy fucking humor. Let's see if I can find some actual good. Here's Kenny Blankenship. Let's see if I can find Takeshi. There's Takeshi, I think. Yeah, there's Takeshi in the red kimono. It's Takeshi. Here, Gila Douche. Let's listen to some Gila Douche here. Let's listen to some Gila Douche. This is only 39 seconds, so I think I can get away with this.
Hi, Guy here. Just back from my annual checkup where the doctors repeatedly probed me and discovered I had a kidney stone the size of a Super Bowl ring. Here's the diagram of my kidney and the gemstone, which I anticipate will pass slowly and painfully. I love the word painfully. And now to our games. The number one game that we'll be... And then he trots over to...
Like, come on, bruh.
We'll end up making a big...
Come on, bruh. That shit is classic. If you grew up in the 2000s, you definitely have seen this show. And I love that type of shit. I love the fact that he was so beloved as a comedian, but he's an artist, bruh. That's why it's even hard for me to like identify as comedian anymore, because all of it is just expression. I am a comedian. You know, I take that back. I will die on that hill just because of what the term comedian is morphing into with the whole revelation of social media and all that shit. What people think a comedian is nowadays is not a comedian. People that think they're a comedian nowadays, most of y'all, not a comedian. I won't go too far down this rabbit hole because, again, trying to talk positive. Ha ha ha. There's still a lot of people out there that really do identify with this shit. Don't cross their paths because they'll make you look like an amateur. And yeah, yo, like, I watched the movie Sonatine, and I was so impressed. Like, visually gorgeous, colors beautiful. Bro. I love this type shit, bro. I love this type shit. The cinematography was, bro. It was hilarious to see how he found ways to sneak in comedy into this gangster movie. At one point, this one guy gets stabbed, but it's so like deadpan. But it's serious. Like, the situation's serious. The Yakuza is getting called up by the Oiban, which Oiban is like the godfather, essentially. So they're getting called up to another territory to help sort out this beef that's going on between these two clans. And so as they're having a meeting and they're being told that they need to go out and sort out this fucking, like, intermediate, they're told that they have to bring these new guys with them. And, like, these new recruits. And one of the older, like, the fucking what's the equivalent? What's the Italian mob equivalent? I don't know, but one of the OG gangsters, all right? He gets mad because he's like, we have to fucking bring these scrubs with us. We have to babysit these guys. And one of the new guys just deadpan. Everybody's deadpan and arguing. But it's weird the way people are arguing. Like, the way this movie is filmed is so interesting. It's not a gangster movie the way you would picture it in a Western sense. It's so much more like not glorifying the violence, but just kind of people are in the vicinity of violence. It's so interesting. And then the second half of the movie, complete tonal shift. Complete tonal shift. They end up on the beach, and then comedy ends up in the movie a lot more. But the guy that stabs him in such a way, and then the people's reaction is so hilarious and so deadpan. And then it cuts to everybody getting on a bus to travel to the region where they're supposed to go and be the intermediaries for this fucking fight between the two clans. And the guy that stabbed the guy is sitting on the bus next to the guy he stabbed, eating a popsicle. And they set up this popsicle thing before. They offered everybody popsicles. And he offers the guy who he stabbed, he's like, would you like a popsicle? He's like, you just fucking cut me and it still hurts very much. No. Like, the way it all goes down is so hilariously funny to me and so Japanese. But yeah, I went down that rabbit hole, ended up discovering, wow, look at all these comedians that have so much fucking range. Who knew? The best comedians are also the best dramatic actors, the best writers, the best directors. I'm telling you, if you are an elite comedian, there is no art form you cannot master. That sounds biased because I'm in comedy, I'm not a painter, but I promise you, and I went to school for animation, not being able to draw. And by the time I left, I didn't complete the course. I left. I dropped out because I had found comedy by that point. But I passed all the courses. I did the year. I just didn't go back. I passed all the courses, and my drawing started getting exponentially better. Ain't nothing comedians can't do. Elite comedians.
This is Black Zeus, the podcast season 5.
I love y'all. Thank you for supporting. Once again, the Patreon is launched. If you do want to watch my comedy special right now, you can do so. It's only $10 and you can get it as part of the subscription fee. So like if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can get it that way, or you can just buy it outright for $10 that way. Once again, for transparency, I will release the comedy special for free on the YouTube once we hit 1,000 subscribers. So you can also just hit the subscriber button and just do that. You can support that way, whichever way you want to support. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. I don't necessarily use it the way everybody else does, but I'm there if you want to find me. AKA Black Zeus is the person to find on those platforms.